Hello there. In this video, I'm going to show you how to test for the heading structure on the page using the AxDev tools. So I'm going to inspect element and then click on the AxDev tools, and then I'm going to go to the structure over here. So structure is the guided tools by AxDev tools, which allows us to test the structure of the page. That includes testing for headings and also testing for any list items, etc. Let's click on the structure, and now it's going to scan. Okay, it's saying that keep the page in a state where you want to start the test from, so I'm keeping it from the top and then hit start. It says we've highlighted around 51 headings that could be found on the site. Do you see any that should not be headings? So let's take a look. So this is heading. Now here I see that this is a heading, and it should not be a heading because this is a site name, and ideally site name shouldn't be a heading. Then you have this one. This is correct because this is the main heading of the entire page, and that's okay. Event starts in. This is a beginning of a new section over here, so this can be a heading. This looks good, but these should not be heading. These are the count of the days and hours. These should not be heading. They are data points within this section, so should not be heading. It's going to use like span or maybe a paragraph, etc. Then we have the Definitive Tech Innovation Summit, which is this one. Clearly, this is the main title of this section, so it should be a heading, and it should be H2. Then you have Global Networking and Innovation Showcase. This looks like subsection title, including the feature or the benefit. Hence, the heading 3 would be a good candidate for this one. So heading basically defines the content structure. So always think in that perspective. So for instance, the site name, this is not a defining content structure. So this shouldn't be heading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start marking the ones I think should not be heading. So I'm going to say, yes, some of them should not be heading. So I'll hit next. So it's asking me, should this be H1? Now you can see that clearly there's a problem, right? That there cannot be more than one headings on a page. So there is a problem here. So which one of them should be heading? As we discussed, we would remove this one. Select any of the headings below that should not be heading. So I'm going to select this one because that shouldn't be heading. Then this is fine. This is a problem. This shouldn't be a heading. This shouldn't be a heading. 5 hours. All of this should not be heading. Okay, so I've selected that and that. Then I'll go over here. This is fine. Then I'll go over here. These two are fine. Then I'll go over here. Okay, so featured speaker. This is like a beginning of a section. So this is fine. We can keep it. The next one up is this one. So here, Emily Rodriguez, that is fine because it's a speaker name. Speaker names are important section markers, and it makes sense as headings. They allow screen readers, users to quickly scan the list of the speakers. So this is a good candidate for heading. It can be H3. Let's say Marcus Thompson also is fine, which is again the speaker name. But session, which is the future of AI in business, that shouldn't be a heading because this is a session title, right? These are details about the speaker, not actual page section heading. So it's better off as either paragraph or span or strong tag, right? So that should be actually not a heading. So I'm going to mark this one as not a heading, and this one also as not a heading. Okay, I'll move to this one now. Now, if you see, this is a very common example of the issue with using headings as for styles. If you notice, this guy right here is in H3, Emily Rodriguez, right? And then Marcus is also in H3. But when we go to the other speakers like Sarah and David and Lisa, they have been marked as H4, and that's not correct, right? The reason for that is because even if Emily Rodriguez and Marcus Thompson are more prominent visually, semantically they are still part of the same group of speakers. So all speaker names, Emily Rodriguez, Marcus Thompson, Sarah Shen, David Wilson, all of them should be marked as H3 because they're all speakers, right? So you can make keynote or featured speakers stand out through CSS styling. So we can use CSS stylings to make them look bigger if we want to make them look more prominent, or ARIA labels, but not changing the heading levels. If we make some H3 and others H4, a screen reader user might think that Emily Rodriguez and Marcus Thompson are sections, and the other guys, Sarah Shen, David Wilson, are actually subsections under them. And this would actually misrepresent the structure, when in reality, they are all peers, all speakers, right? So this is a very, very common mistake that happens on the website, that people add the heading based on their visual representation. It shouldn't be the case. You should always think of on a Google Doc. If you had to write all of this on a Google Doc where there isn't a visual presentation, how are you going to write them? If you had to list down all the speakers, would you use an H3 for all of them, or would you use an H3 for these and H4 for the rest? So that's not right. Okay. So now here it's saying any heading, there should not be heading. So right now it's not a matter of heading here. The question this particular one is asking us is mark the ones that are not heading. But I just wanted to highlight this point as well, that the heading level that's been marked is not correct. So of course in this step, I can't say that, that is incorrect. Maybe it might ask us in the next few steps. I'll just go with if there any element that shouldn't be the heading. Okay, so moving on, going on. So that's that. So this is fine. This is heading. This should be heading. This should be heading. Okay, now over here again, Emily Rodriguez, she is a speaker, so that is correct. Now let's move to this section, schedule. So this is an H2, which is correct because it's the beginning of a new section. Then we have the future of digital information. This is an H4, which is fine. Then we have the name of that particular author. This is an H5. Again, it is incorrect because, this should be a plain text. Now you must be wondering, why am I selecting this? That should not be a heading. Well, there are many reasons for that. Number one, it's not a beginning of a section, right? Now you'll say to me that in the previous section where we had all the speakers available, this one, we went with the concept that all the speakers' titles should be headings, so that it's easy for the screen readers to basically organize them together. Then why is it that when we have a speaker name here, we are not using title? Well, that's a very valid point. And the reason for that is because in the speaker section, which is this section right here, the goal of the section is let the user browse through people, right? So in this case, the speaker's name is the main entry point of the information. That's why it makes sense to use their names as the headings, so a screen reader can hit H and quickly move through speaker by speaker. But this one is actually a schedule section. So it's a session agenda by time. So goal of this section is let the users browse through the talks or sessions, not speakers. Speakers like additional information, like who is doing, who is taking that talk. But the main agenda here are the talks. So the names of the talks should be the headings and not the speakers. So the speaker is just a supporting information as to who's delivering the talk. So here, the session is the focus, and in the previous one, the speaker was the focus, which is why those were heading, but here the session names will be heading and not the speakers. Okay, so always think of the Google Doc, how are you going to organize in the Google Doc. So let me give you an example. So let's take a look visually. Let's say this was a Google Doc and this is the hierarchy. You have two sections, speakers, and then you have another section, schedule, right? So look at the hierarchy over here on the left. So you have H2, which is a proper semantic structure. And then if you look at the speakers, this is this featured speakers. So I can just call it as featured speakers over here. That's an H2. That's the beginning of the main section. And then you have the names of these people, which is Emily Rodriguez, Marcus Thompson. Those are the ones which are the names of the speakers, because that's in the highlight. The speaker names is the main entry point. So those are your H3. Emily Rodriguez, Marcus Thompson, Sarah Shen, all of these are H3. And just because they look, just because the styling needs to be different doesn't mean you're going to change the type of the tag. It'll be the same. Okay, so you have all of this in a good hierarchy. Then we move to schedule. So schedule is this one. So this is the beginning of the main section, schedule. So that's going to be an H2 like that. And then H3 should be ideally day 1, March 15. That should be an H3 because you have tabs, right? And then under this you have the other content. So it's kind of like a section, right? So H3 should day 1 to March 15. Day 1 March 15 should be heading 3. And everything else in terms of the names of the sessions should be the H4. So future of digital innovation, advanced React patterns, design system at scale, all of these should be the H4s, right? And the content inside of it, like the speaker is paragraph, which is this information, Michael Shen, Dr. Sarah Johnson, all of that information basically is going to be the paragraph. Similarly, in the previous one also, if you see, the session is actually going to be paragraphs. Okay. So I hope that makes things clear for you. Whenever you are structuring it, think of it in terms of how you're going to write it on a Google Doc. And we shouldn't be actually using heading as styles, based on styles. It should be based on hierarchy and what is it that our section is trying to convey. What is the main entry point of the section? What is the main agenda? What are we trying to convey to the users? Okay, so we will continue this further in the next video because this video is getting too long, and thank you very much.